Alright, time to record another episode of Stress Gauge. I'm sure the last one wasn't done too long ago. Huh. So it's clearly been a while. Do you guys want to say anything before we start?
Hello, BONELAB.
Okay,
Come on.
thank you. Alright. It's time for questions. Alright.
Oh boy!
Alright, these first five are from me. What made
me?
you put Void Takeover on hold for so long?
That's a good question. It was so there's two things about it. Like not only the effects of putting it on hold, but the initial reason I did was just because, it was such like patch 3 to patch 4, it was just everything broke. Like I think me, Erica, and Evro were gonna port the old stuff to patch 4, but there was just so much work to be done and it was like I just didn't want it. We dropped that for a bit, but it was just so much work for like a product that I wouldn't even be happy with. So we just decided like that was the moment like when I played the first test build of like old Void Takeover ported and nothing worked, and I thought about it. I was like, even if this was ported, I probably wouldn't be happy with it. So I just decided like I'm just gonna drop it. Like if I was to start Void Takeover, I would just start completely fresh with new learned experience and Unity knowledge and all that and level design stuff.
Right.
So then during the wait, I made a handful of maps. I made basically everything in my catalog, regardless of like Dev Sky and Prefab Palace, which was also like Aqueduct Sector and Lab Backend, and those had a really good reception. That was nice. And during like that period before Void Takeover, Erica made Saber like offices and like a lot of that.
Yeah, no. So in a way, those older projects that you worked on were kind of, building up your knowledge so that you could tackle Void Takeover again.
Yeah, and also like people say like or some people say, I remember they said before, but no one has asked like as of recent, but like if there ever was a demo for Void Takeover, it would be Aqueduct Sector. And it's like you can pretty much only go up from here. Like there's no way that we could take the development from Aqueduct Sector and make it worse. So like even that being a demo of sorts, the bar, like the ceiling for quality on that is still incredibly high from what it was. Like there's a lot of things in Void Takeover that were absent from Aqueduct Sector that you can expect us to have now.
Right.
So
All right. Next question. What are the main goals that you wish to achieve with Void Takeover?
Erica, would you like to lead on this one because I talked a lot.
Um, I don't really know where to start.
This is the goal. This is the best we can achieve.
The goal is the best we can achieve.
Like I guess to rephrase it, like when you're thinking of a campaign level, what do you want to do differently from what people are doing now? I
Right,
guess
right.
that's the question.
That would.
I want the levels to be actually unique and to look good.
Like from one another. I see that.
Yeah.
Mm,
I also just like use of materials because a lot of people just use gray grid and it looks
right.
horrible.
Yeah. A lot.
Aligned grids?
No.
Unaligned grids?
Yeah.
A lot of projects use unaligned grids, but I was gonna leave this in because a lot of maps I've noticed that a lot of BONELAB maps tend to use like the concrete grids that like make it
Yeah.
look like museum in that way.
A museum style
I was
map?
hoping one of you would say that.
Can you make a map in a museum style?
Yeah, but like
Dude.
that is so overdone, and it's so refreshing to see like just newer, like more unique looking locations. And I can already say from what I've tested that you guys are doing amazing on that
Yeah.
front.
But like even it's not even the problem with the materials because the grid materials can be good if they're used like if it's not all grid materials. If you balance it out. Like I feel like a big way to look at that is Boneworks, the amount of like special wall pieces they had. Like if you go through Runoff, there's a ton of those like special like grunge like wall tiles, you know what I'm talking
Mm,
about? Like those were made specifically for Runoff and you don't see them ever again. And
right. Yeah.
there's a lot of level pieces like sewers, all of sewers has their entire like I get they bought it from an asset pack, but most of that stuff is exclusive to sewers or subway station as well.
Hmm.
They also bought an asset pack for subway station.
I guess all right. Next question that I have is what has so far been the largest struggle between you two, like working on the project?
Like design wise or ideas?
I guess it'd be design and ideas wise. Just
Um, is
Me
there
forgetting,
anything?
me
Yeah,
forgetting to push changes.
that's a big
that
one.
that is a big one.
No, because you'll be asleep and I'll be like up and I'll ping him and I'll have to wait because it's either he does have changes and I can't work because of that, or there were no changes to push and I didn't know so I just wasted a day. But like on a real note, there's not a lot of stuff we conflict with conceptually. Most of it, if it is a back and forth of like what we should and shouldn't do, most of it is like you take the idea that the other person has and you build off of it instead of like breaking it down and saying no we should do this instead. Maybe it's like if this section is pretty simple, one of us will have an idea instead of saying you can do this instead, what if this was a little bit different so that something else can happen. Like what should we bring up in crypt, that or that room with the shelves with the null bodies throw stuff? That was your idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten to do that in a like really good way because I do want to
Mm.
go back to that idea at some point.
But for the people who haven't played Void Takeover, pretty much it's just like a long hallway with corrupted null bodies and like shelves that have bottles
Mm.
on them. And the corrupted null bodies throw the projectiles to try to hit you, but then they hit the shelves and the shelves explode and it's all cool. But it doesn't really work that well because they just shoot the projectile and it goes through the hole in the shelf.
Yeah. I remember I brought up, I think it was like a couple days ago, like we could take origin crates or like a stack of books or something and raise the shelves up like 0.25 of a meter, like
Yeah.
enough for it to always direct impact the middle of the shelf. But it's like stuff like this where it's like there's a problem with a segment and we're just like, how can we make this better? There's not a lot of destructive criticism in the sense that like if I have something to say, it's not gonna like invalidate his idea, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm.
And I
Instead, we
think
use
that's good.
object destructible.
Yeah, and fragment array.
Right.
Mhm.
No one is gonna get that because no one makes mods anymore. But it's pretty cool though because that allow like if I was just making the project on my own, there's a lot of really cool and unique ideas that would have never been done just because Urka wasn't there to be like, hey, maybe we should do this way. You know, like it's hard to say things without saying the example that I'm thinking of while I'm saying this. You know,
Right.
because it's like some stuff, just like you can't have it all. I don't want to say everything
Right.
or like
Right.
the
Yeah.
really cool moments.
Yeah. Don't spoil the cool stuff for the people, man. You gotta save
Yeah.
Build
that.
board.
Yeah, I remember someone commented on Aqueduct Sector, what is the lore of this map? And you know, like, obviously, like, there is none. So I just replied, like, you kill all the guys. And, and he commented back, he was like, fair enough. You kill all the guys. I mean, is
That's
that wrong?
true.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And I guess last question from myself personally is what people can expect from the final product, or what you would hope people would receive from the final product.
I just hope people like it.
Yeah, I hope that one thing that I had an issue with when I was reviving the project was that like the initial trailer, like not the trailer, the development update, the first one. I thought people were gonna see it and they were gonna be like, "This is it. Like this is all you have to show so far," because
Yeah.
of just how long the project's been going on for. But it was received pretty well, and I just, like Erica said, I hope people like it, and I hope people can excuse how long it's taking because this is like such a monumental thing. Like this is the biggest mod probably anyone has ever made
Right.
that isn't
Yeah.
LabWorks.
I can. Yeah. This is like as far as my knowledge goes, this is like the biggest original project for BONELAB.
Endless.
Endless 2 in development. Should
That's
we
true.
say anything? If this becomes super outdated, like I don't know when this is gonna come out, but should we say what we have done so far, like how many levels, so that we can go
Um.
back? I'll say the main menu is done. The only thing we have to do there is update the UI menu as more stuff gets added.
And add a
Um,
laser cursor.
yeah. Our thing starts at 0, 0, which is the first level, even though it technically is like half of a full level.
Hmm.
Like it is half the length of 01. So we have like the main menu's done, 0, 0 is done, 01 is basically finished. We just have to finish that secret area, you know?
Yeah.
And we're starting work. Well, we have started actually work on the I guess the second numbered level, and the second one is pretty non-linear from what we have so far and what we're planning. Like
Hmm.
that's another thing, is that it's not gonna be, the campaign isn't gonna be specifically linear or non-linear. It's like
Right.
Boneworks. Like some levels were more or less,
Right, yeah,
but
that was a big issue that I had with BoneLab, is that most of it seemed very linear, and it didn't have, like, any of those big, like, open, like, you just choose where you want to go, and,
yeah.
and there's not really, like, a right or wrong answer. It's like, that was, a feeling that was missing from BoneLab,
That was
at least to
sorry.
me, so, yeah.
I felt like that was kind of lame because it's very obviously because of the Quest hardware that they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do anything huge. Like,
Yeah.
especially with, didn't Brandon recently say that the Project 4 concept art was before they compressed things down for the Quest, right? Like
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
that large open scene was before they knew that they were gonna have to make smaller stuff. And I guess that having small scenes that are easily definable, as in like this section starts here and ends here, helps them chunk it. But you could just as easily do what Aqueduct Sector does and have a persistent outside scene always loaded and just chunk out the rooms that you are in. As long as you can look up and still see a skybox and buildings, you know, what is the need of having the next level loaded? It's like what LabWorks does. In
Mm-hmm.
Runoff,
Yeah.
they chunk out like everywhere that you aren't. It's definitely possible. It just requires a lot more effort.
Right. Alright, well, that is it for my questions. Now I'm gonna open the Google form. Thank you. Uh, yeah, let's just open the Google form and see what people have submitted.
I hope half of it isn't joke responses.
Yeah, I hope that we
Yeah.
get a couple unique questions.
I already see uh, a user by the name of Alpha Ford, so that doesn't really fill me
Oh,
with much
no.
Oh
hope.
no,
Oh,
is this
no.
Chad Ford?
Okay. Alright, this is very interesting. Okay.
Is there any real
The
questions?
literal, no, there is. The first question in the form is from Sigma Jimmy, and it says, "Can I mod Sigmas into the backstreets of Ohio in this campaign?"
I'd say
No.
yeah. Yeah. What?
Dark Chamber.
Oh, that's true.
Damn. Well, that makes sense.
You sounded so disappointed.
Okay,
What?
this one's good. Why is Nolan so good at modding, but Yurka is so shit at modding? And that's from Brandon.
Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Is this from
me.
Bonfire? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't.
Damn.
No matter what I say, I lose because to answer the question is to defend myself.
Is it because I made Saber Lake offices?
Yeah.
No, it's because you made the
Oh.
Saber Lake Eater and they removed the mag. For it.
Alright.
That's
I
true.
made one better. I made mine
No.
better. Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brandon, for the question.
Can I have
Go,
GDC
go
though?
back to Dev Sky.
Go back to your dev sky, Mr. Brandon. The first real, somewhat real question is from Schmitty, and
No way.
and he states, what is the story of Void Takeover?
So, the way that I see it, also, if I'm talking too much, Erica, and you have something to say, you can just, like, tell me to stop talking.
Okay.
You know, like, I don't know, but, like, the way that I envision it is that it's, like, a side story to BONELAB. Like, it plays out parallel, because we know that, because Jimmy says the same things in the intro that he does at the end, we can infer that it's, like, a time loop. Like, as soon as you're done playing, like as soon as you get to the end, he starts the thing to help other players. So like the way I took that is that everybody's journey is different. Like just because we play through our journey of being recruited by Lava Gang, going through Fantasyland and through the Descent and all that, and then Ascent and all that, I took that to mean that that's not how every journey for people who go to Lava Gang is. Like you can see like different people, while they might be recruited by Jimmy or by other forces to Lava Gang, they won't all take the same path. So you eventually will reach the same end goal. you like
I just fucking lost my entire
It's over.
focus.
It's over.
No.
Everyone just lost their entire train of thought.
Yeah, because
Oh, nice going, Eureka. That's going, Eureka Tractor.
Okay, Mr. Rifle Prefab.
Okay, that's the only joke you have for me.
Saber like the two side after.
Oh my god. Okay. Alright. Next question. This next one is from Rena the Silly. They ask, how many levels are you planning on adding to the campaign?
I think right now, if I remember right, it's 9 levels.
that would be true because there's 0, 0, and then we end at 0, 8. I don't know why we do the zeros, even though there's only 8. I think it's I don't know. It's too late to change it, but there's that, and then there's the hub level. Should we say the testing scene? Are we gonna put that in the
No.
video? No. Right now in our palette we have the testing scene, but that might not always be there, you know. But there's the hub, the district. That's what, a nice 10, because there's
Yeah.
9 campaign levels and the hub level, and then maybe in the future we'll do side content. There's
Yeah.
spots in the main menu for it.
Right.
If you want to say more about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping to make like sandbox levels based off the campaign or like
Ooh.
extra tack trials because like kind of like Aqueduct Sector with Aqueduct Construct.
I see.
Aqueduct Construct was a bit boring.
Yeah. The only reason I made it, I didn't even really want to make it, but I saw that people were commenting like that they liked the way the map looked and they wanted to just mess around in it. And so I felt like for people like if people did want a sandbox in this style, they would have to like take the Nimbus gun and fly to the outside part of the map and despawn all the enemies. Even then, they would have this really cramped area, and I felt that kind of sucks. So I just made Aqueduct Construct, which has this huge like pit in the middle.
Yeah.
The amount of levels is not, main campaign levels are like about like 10-ish if we include District Hub. And, you're still deciding whether or not you want to do extended content beyond that.
Yeah. So like
Alright.
if we had to pin a number down, we would say like 9 campaign levels plus the district hub, which is I guess 10. But we still don't know if we're gonna do side content. We know that we want to do it eventually, but we don't know if we would release with it or if that would be like an update or something or a separate mod maybe.
Right. Now here's a question. Here's another question. This is just me. Um, does Void Takeover 1.7 add shotguns?
It does.
That's
And it fixes a
awesome.
lot of the stuff with the rig 1.7, you know.
That's great.
And we will add a floating 1911 along with a tiny vehicle
Yeah, made of
permanent.
Unity cubes.
Wow, I really hope that comes out.
Yes. We will release the testing scene as well.
It won't be in 1.6, but it'll be soon.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh, here's a pretty good one. Xander asks, are there any big gimmicks that would make this mod stand out from other campaigns?
Purple guns.
There's a couple of things. There's a lot of one-off gimmicks. Like I do a lot of configurable joint stuff for puzzles like that, and Urika does purple guns. If he wants to talk
Yeah.
about that, he can. But we have plans for a lot of, I guess you would call them like machines, like
Machine
kind of
King?
like no. So like you know how the monomat is like a machine, you find it and it has a purpose and it's interactive in the sense that like you can get something out of it, like it's a gameplay thing.
Right.
We have a couple things like that planned that function like the monomat, but instead of paying with ammo because that's just not functionally possible, there's a lot of other interesting gameplay stuff that even though I'm not going to say what it is, that whole mechanic of how you pay for the weapons, it leads into the exploratory parts of the map where you're going to be looking for stuff.
Mm.
Nothing specific, but it just like encourages you to just go exploring in general.
Yeah.
Chat, I know what feature they're talking about, but
He
I'll
does.
never tell you. Hehehe. Hehehe. I'm just silly like that. Alright. Thank you for thank you for
Why'd
that.
you do that?
I don't know.
This next question is what inspired you to think Void Takeover? Like I would assume the okay.
Okay, I'm gonna delete that.
If you keep that in, everyone's just gonna be laughing their ass off during the fucking questions. Alright. Okay. Okay, man.
Okay, can you?
Alright. Alright. This the question is what inspired you to make Void Takeover? And like
Boneworks. Boneworks.
yeah. Do you guys have like any major inspirations? Like from other
Okay.
For me, I always watched like Rocket Jump, Node, and all that,
mm,
and I started watching Corridor Crew, and I remember like there were one-off times where I think like Sam would play or make a random Unreal Engine game and show it off to everyone else. I thought that would be so cool to do. And then there's SLZ that I saw. And it's like the videos Brandon made on his channel and Boneworks, and just me getting into the development of the games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think seeing the development of Boneworks really elevated my liking for uh my interest for video game development as well, just like as a whole, because the stuff is
Yeah.
really cool to me.
It's weird being the guy that goes, "Oh, look, we got like a couple frames of that guy's testing scene. Look at all the shit in his scene." It because like now I'm the guy that people are like, "Can you release the testing scene?" It's weird. Like it's such a weird turnaround because it's like I remember like even still when we see footage of Dev Sky from Brandon, I'm like, "That's cool. I wish I could have that officially." We still want GDC build, GDC 2018.
Oh,
I know they'll never release it because it's probably
they
so fucked
won't.
with Steam VR.
I would, dude, if that were to ever get released in any way, I think that would like genuinely send me into cardiac arrest because I want that so much.
I
Yeah.
know.
I would
See,
also like. There's a lot of development builds of Boneworks I would like to have, but I know would never release for many reasons.
Hmm.
the warehouse GDC one.
I could see
Oh, I
that
forgot.
releasing because it's closer to uh release, but I'm
The
thinking
TCO4
more,
build.
yeah, TCO4, the Valve demo,
Oh
and
yeah.
also like later redacted chamber builds where they had more stuff, but they just cut all of that so that we could have what kind of looks like the version in that video.
Yeah.
Also, like, grab would be cool, the Valve one.
Oh
Oh, the
yeah.
V2 head crab.
That was yeah, I remember seeing V2 head crab because one of my friends showed me that, and it was very nice to see because I'm assuming a lot of that was done to like market like VR as a platform to Valve. Like, oh, look at all this cool stuff you can do with your IPs.
Yeah,
You could make
people.
a VR Valve game, and they're like,
Whoa.
buddy."
Um. Uh. This is awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
but
is
I hate it when people say like, "Oh, SLZ was trying to be bought by Valve because they included all that stuff." No,
no.
Brandon said in the BONELAB server a couple of years ago that the head crab there was just so that when they showed it to Valve, they could be like, "Oh, look, hey, it's the head crab."
It's the head crab from Half-Life.
I've seen this before. It's in labs. Make
And
sure
then
you're
then
recording the activity.
I am. Don't you worry.
Use the left joystick to locomote or walk forward to reach the menu. When you're ready, smash open this crate. Good luck and Godspeed. I'm waiting here.
He's waiting.
Bro is waiting.
Crouch and jump with your right controller.
right controller.
That's the left controller. You can see by where the analog stick is. That's the left controller.
That's great. All right.
What is the next question?
All right. The next question is, uh, over your. All right, over your iterations of Void Takeover, how has the scope of the mod evolved?
It keeps growing. I don't know what to do about it.
Damn,
What, Eric? Do you have anything to say about the scope of the mod?
Pro Builder is bad.
Yeah.
that is true.
The original The very first builds of the mod were so bad. Like I don't want them to ever resurface because it'll be under the same project name as what we're working on now. So I just don't want them to ever be associated.
Just
Like
edit the JSON file and rename the
it's not
palette.
the same exact palette. It's just always been Void Takeover.
Well,
Like I don't know. It's the scope of the mod. Even what we're doing now, I think in patch 3 it was just going to be like 4 long levels. Now I think we've like doubled
mm,
plus main menu and all that. And
Okay.
it's all interconnected, like the ending of the first level transitions to the second one in universe, unlike
right.
Avatar mini games.
This next one is really cool. This next one is really good.
I can't
In
trust that.
in your personal opinion, what tool or feature that is currently not in base SDK or maybe not even in extended would help you the most if it was implemented?
Who suggested this? That's a good question.
I don't know how to pronounce their name.
That that would that is so initially, right? For patch 3, the tool that would have revolutionized everything was just BONELAB. From patch 3 to patch 4, the zone creation tools, just being able to click like 2 points and then
Yeah.
just create a zone between them, or even the chunking as well, got such an upgrade. In patch 3, what you would have to do was have on top of your zones, right? You would have chunk triggers, which were like the same thing as zones but for chunks. Like they were two separate systems instead of what they are now where they're like interconnected. So you would have that. Chunking in patch 3 was so bad because you would need to have game objects in your assets. Like you wouldn't create stream chunks in the scene like you do now. You would have to have a whole assets folder full of these data, like scriptable objects. You would reference your scenes. It was like linking zones, but it was a million times harder. And of course, it would be so like sloppily done because you can't organize anything as good as you could with patch 4 tools. So like
Right.
in terms of things that have been added, that's way better. Like even just the zone tools, if you leave out the chunking stuff, just the zone tools in general are so good. And things that we don't have, I would definitely love to like maybe a part of a crate. Like we had this joke idea of like inventory data, or can you remember that?
Yeah.
But I think it could be cool if you did have inventory data as some tag that goes that is the data is in the palette, but as you're playing you can update and change that data. Like it'll constantly update whenever you take a loading zone in that campaign's like levels. And it'll keep your inventory data like you do if you go from Descent to like the BONELAB hub. Something
Oh,
like that, but for custom levels would be a
That'd
cool
be
system.
a
interesting.
couple things that I think they should add. One for avatars, different footstep sounds depending on what material you're
That's
walking on.
good. I
Oh
remember we
yeah.
I
said
don't know
it's
why they
tied to
don't
the
have
impact property,
That
that. Yeah.
right? Like if you could have a wood impact property and you could assign audio clips that would override the avatar's default footsteps.
that's what I
Yeah.
was really confused about. I don't know why that isn't a thing. Swear to God that was a thing in Boneworks.
I
Was
don't
it?
think it was.
Damn.
There was just the like slippery step sounds when you were sliding around. If
Huh.
there's anything else, Erica, that you think
Thing.
of.
Oh, yeah. Campaign data. So you could like list out all the scenes and or like level crates. And then you can have it in those crates. You can't like spawn dev tools.
Ooh,
And you
that'd
can
be
Wow.
also
cool.
save and load specific points.
A campaign like a completion data that could be cool. Like kind of like mock up game control. Like an SLZ base like SDK like campaign data manager, maybe you put in a scene and it'll be like different lists. Like you can have events play out if 10% is complete, if 50% is complete. Like if 10% is complete out of 10 levels, meaning someone played the first level, unlock that first level to be selectable through a UI menu.
Right.
Enable that button. Something like that could be so cool.
Yeah, no, that's a really neat neat few ideas that I was just gonna say, oh, grips would be cool to see in base SDK, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff in base SDK that isn't added. I'm gonna say this right now. As much as I like to dog on patch 6 for not really doing much in game wise, it it did give us impact properties and shit like that, and that was really cool to see.
I mean,
Or patch 5.
Patch 5. 6 gave us
Wannabe void logic.
pretty much.
Honestly, that too. That was a big
Yeah.
change because now more people are using the airlock doors where before it was just like
Yeah,
me
it makes
using
it
void logic.
it makes stuff a lot easier, at least from
The
what
bar for
I
entry is
know.
lower. Yeah. Like now all of it is documented now because whenever they release a patch, there's usually a new Grease Scotsman video.
Right.
And that's definitely very helpful because it's like I'm just as new to all the new SDK stuff as anyone else. Like when it came out, I had no idea what data cards were. So the documentation was very helpful, even as someone who's like, I guess, a
Mhm.
veteran of BONELAB modding.
Right. Next one. Question is, how is the performance on Quest?
From what I've heard, very good.
Uh,
Erica, you've played it on Quest, right?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
It was kind of an old build. Uh, like we only had, think about half of the first level done. Well, we had 0, 0 done, but the first numbered level was half done. But it ran pretty well.
yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to test it on Quest personally, which I need to do at some point. But yeah, that's another like big thing, cause now we're as Boneworks modding, you know, you didn't really have to like worry about like huge amounts of optimization. You know, that's a pretty big deal on a quest, cause
Yeah.
that's just like it's essentially just mobile hardware.
I
So
don't, I don't get why people hate Quest so much
I don't
for
hate it.
modding because it's not that hard to optimize for Quest. I think
And
people are just lazy.
to build onto that, any optimizations you do for Quest users are gonna also be felt for PC users with
Right.
subpar specs. Like,
Except platform texture resolution.
yeah, but like, say you chunk a level that wasn't before chunked, even on PC, you'll notice a performance increase. It's like, yeah, where the Quest users who before would run out of memory loading the level now can play it, but like, the rich get richer, man. If you were already doing well performance-wise on PC, it can only go up.
Right.
That's probably more than half your player base,
Yeah,
actually.
that's a good chunk of BoneLab's player base is exclusively Quest. It
Yeah.
wasn't it like the first week of BoneLab being out, it sold like 1 million copies on the Quest store?
I think over 1 million. Like I think
Damn.
it was some number over that. That was crazy to think that like and that was Quest sales alone. Because they
Yeah.
really don't have any game like this. What's the closest thing? Like sport mode?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You
The
can dog on the Quest graphics all you want, but they kept the physics 1-to-1
they
basically
they kept
wherever it counted.
they kept like a good chunk of the systems like exact wherever like they really needed it to be. And I feel like that was a huge stepping stone for Stress Level Zero was getting a Boneworks type feeling game on as many get it to as many VR players as possible, because let's be honest, most VR users nowadays use Quest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that plainly. That is,
Yeah, that's just a fact. I
it's
mean,
the
Oh,
most accessible way to get into VR right now, and it is probably going to stay like that for a
because
good while.
The Quest is just so cheap, even at its like lowest model. $200 is like, that's why there's especially so many young people in the community, because the Quest 2 is such an easy like Christmas gift.
Yeah.
The VR, the bar for entry has never been this easy. Another thing though is that talking about performance and optimization, all the stuff that they do just to optimize for Quest, they were probably going to do anyways just to polish the Marrow engine as much as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though we will have more open levels in their future titles because they're not going to be specifically for Quest, they still have all the work that they've done for BONELAB under their like toolkit for Marrow.
Right.
They're probably still going to use the zone system and all that with whatever advancements they make in between releases, but the fundamental groundwork is done.
Right. Yeah. I feel like BONELAB is a really neat game in that sense because it feels more of like in retrospect it is a lot less of a successor to Boneworks and more of like an we're preparing ourselves
Yeah.
to get ready to release on like multiple platforms and stuff like that and like just improve our systems from Boneworks.
This feels more like a tech demo than Boneworks did.
It honestly it
Yeah.
really does. All right. Well, this brings us to our last question, which is directed mainly towards Nolan.
Of course.
Ah!
Okay. Okay.
He made the Void T over and it isn't good.
This question's really good. Any news on the Redacted remake?
Who
No!
who
No!
requested that?
Tekka? Tekka is
Oh.
that it? Yeah.
I thought it was new.
I thought it was him too. The Redacted remake, I mean, that exists in a weird limbo space between stuff that I have been working on, like
It's in
some of the beta
G-Man
work stuff.
stasis.
Yeah. Like I did the patch 6 circuit art and I worked on Dev Sky and Prefab Palace. And the Redacted, I would love to do like a Void Takeover. Like if I were to, I'd probably restart again on the Redacted remake and just make it more accurate to the original because it's kind of not redacted anymore, like at all. Like I would just follow more closely to the original layout. I'd probably do it with Urika in the plastic project if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But that would be Redacted tack trial, dude. We have to do that now.
Tuscany Tech trial.
The Tuscany tack trial.
I
We have to
wasn't.
do a Redacted tack trial.
Secret level at the end of the campaign. It's just all of your old levels stitched together.
I mean, they have no continuity anyway, so it's not like anything would be missing.
Yeah.
All right, and that is the last of it. We have done it. Holy
No.
shit! Oh. Do you have a
What are you
question,
laughing at?
Mr. Yurka?
Ian,
Yeah.
how did you think when you made the Half-Life 1 Glock? This is ready for release.
I was a child.
Okay.
I was but a wee lad. Okay. Are you seriously going to port that?
Maybe.
Please do. I would love that. It'd be awesome. Alright, and that is the end of the interview. That is all the usable footage I got. Or audio, rather. I wanted to quickly say some things before the video ends. First of all, I'm sorry for taking 4 months to continue this series. I went through a heavy creator burnout, and that's my only excuse. I only have myself to blame, so there's that. I am working on more stuff. As of right now, I am currently finalizing a port of the Shooter Revived USP, which, if you don't know what Shooter Revived is, it's an old Half-Life Alyx mod I was part of. that aimed to remake Valve's shooter tech demo that was cut from the lab. It's a whole thing. But the USP for that, I'm porting it to BONELAB, and it is turning out really well. I'm very happy with how that's coming along. And I am also doing a complete remake and like restyling of Valve's CS Office from Counter-Strike, because that is not only a map that I like, I also wanted to challenge myself with creating something similar in style to Boneworks, which is hopefully, I'm going to hopefully be able to work on that some more soon. That's all I have right now. I may or may not drop a Fusion video before Christmas hits, but if it doesn't, and this is the last video on the channel for this year, happy holidays, happy new year, happy fucking farting on level pillar or something, I don't know, goodbye.